Hi, my name is Bob Nika. I teach driver education here at Southeast High School. I've been asked to let you know how I feel about how backwards planning has made me a better teacher this year. I was lucky enough to be a part of ILT at Southeast. I'm a department head now in health, PE, and driver education. I was sitting with experts that have been on ILT and department heads at Southeast for a long time, and I listened to them talk, and some things started to click in my head a little bit that maybe I need to rethink a few things. For the last 30 years, I've been using things like PowerPoint and worksheets and chapter questions. I think I've done a good job. I've analyzed videos. I've had QuickTime movies in my class. As far as evaluation, I did multiple choice, true, false, some short answer. We did some open-end assessments like for reading articles from a newspaper. But I basically gave the students the information, and then they regurgitated it to me as best they could, and then I moved on. My goal the past 30 years was content, rules of the road, expose the kids to it. They need to grasp it. If they don't, then as long as they get enough that they can be a safe driver, it was more the content emphasis for me. I can even remember a few years back when we started CRIS strategies, I thought they were a joke. I thought word walls, graphic organizers. By now, if a 9th grade kid or a sophomore cannot understand basic driver ed book, the basic book, then why? I mean, maybe they shouldn't need to get a license. So I thought that was a little bit too grade schooly. Well, after this year, I thought one of the first things, the biggest moment for me was when we started talking about Lexile analyzers last year. At the end of last year, I analyzed my Rules of the Road book. And when I looked at the different spots, several different places in it to get an idea of what the reading level was, I got up to a couple times over 1,500. We're talking routinely 12 to 1,500 in reading level. So then I thought, okay, let me look at my SRI scores. We were told to do that. A couple years now, I've been not doing that, but I did it this year. And I looked at the kids' SRI scores, and half of my class is below 1,000. And if you know anything about SRI scores, most of mine were in the 800 to 900 range, with several kids in each class, like 5 or 6, were down in the 500, 600 range. My book's at 1,300, 1,400. I'm giving them a set of chapter questions based on the book, get them homework, and I was wondering why the kids weren't transferring what I was teaching in my class to the work they were producing in class and into behind the wheel. It was like I was reteaching classroom in behind the wheel like they never heard it before. I took my seating chart and I color-coded the kids in each seat spot on that seating chart with a color coordinated with their SRI scores. And I grouped them in so I knew where they were seated in my class. By looking at their data, I was able to say, okay, now when this kid asked me the 10th time, what does this word mean? I wasn't getting frustrated with him because I actually knew he needed the 10th time. And it made me a better teacher right off the bat, going, I know my students finally, because I'm basing my instruction almost individually with some kids because of what I know about how they can read and what they can comprehend and how they organize thought, and how sometimes now I look at the Common Core, it's language. Some kids are better at language than they are writing, but it's my job to understand how my backwards planning relates to the Common Core in reading, speaking, language, listening. And I can walk around now and it's just not hitting for the center. I'm helping each individual kid because I understand kind of where they're coming from as far as where their learning is and how well they can, how quick they can catch on. I started to annotate the rules of the road book. We have consumable books. I've taught this now years and years and years. I've never had them write anything in the rules of the road book. By the end of the 9 weeks, they were torn up and thrown away. We never circled vocabulary. We never underlined main concept. We never wrote questions as we read, because I thought the kids could read it and understand it. We never read it together. We do it on a PowerPoint or on a projector now. We annotate it together. I've got a big container of highlighters. The kids understand how to annotate. They feel comfortable asking me about vocabulary, the essential vocabulary that I want them to know. We read it in context. We're doing things in class to get the understanding of that vocabulary, where they can take the vocabulary that's essential for driver ed and put it into context in different areas, so you have multiple meanings of the words. I'd never even thought about doing stuff like that before. We use graphic organizers now, and we take notes, but we chunk it, where we try to align it as we go, so it's just not a ton of stuff. I try to align it so they understand where it fits with each concept that I cover. Now that this year, when I gave an evaluation, a paragraph type, open-ended evaluation on 7 different areas. We actually sat the day before the test, actually 2 days, and we put all our notes out all over the desk. Half of my kids could have done this in 2 seconds. But half of them, you should have seen them, because they had all their papers set out, all the notes, the video notes, the questions we answered, the annotation, everything that we had, the word, the vocabulary, the graphic organizer, and we looked at each one of the areas that I was going to test them on and make them write about, and we put it where it belonged, to organize their thoughts so they knew where it fit for each one, instead of just saying, here's the stuff, now be able to answer. And it was like we were playing doing a jigsaw puzzle, but it started to connect for the kids. So many of those kids that I did that with came in on their own, texted me on my phone and said, which one goes with what again? And I got these phone calls, and it was just like, I'm teaching a different way that the kids are learning. And all of them are leading, even the higher level students. Their products at the end of that assessment were better than I've ever had, because they learned how to organize. They needed that too. Not as much, but it still helped them. Probably one of the things I want to tell you guys is that I was gone 2 days. Today's Wednesday. I was gone Monday and Tuesday. And in making out a lesson plan, I gave the kids a 38-word vocabulary with the vocabulary on one side, my definitions on the other from chapter 7. And I said, do the matching. That was for one day. The next day I gave them an assignment that was do these questions on each page, do the questions at the end of the chapter. And about 40% of my class did them when I got back today. And I wasn't even thinking about this. And when I got back, about 35% of my class, the kids that I have made such a great strides with, they acted out. I got names all over a sheet. I haven't had one problem with them since the 9 weeks started. They were frustrated with the format that I asked them to learn because they could not understand it. I had not done that to them this whole 9 weeks. I taught differently. I went back old school on them and said, it's up to you. I don't care whether you read or not. You do this assignment. And if you don't, they got frustrated. They quit. Some kids were behavior problems. Kids that I've built a relationship with just because they knew that I cared enough about them to change my teaching, to take the time to help them. And now today, I'm going back and I'm telling those same kids, that wasn't a very good assignment, was it? And they're all looking at me like, why did you leave me? Why did you take me back there? I'm asking you guys to consider that backwards planning and Common Core makes everybody a reading teacher. And I've got a few years left too. I got 5 or 6 years years left to teach. This year I've taught 5 or 6 years left to teach. This year I've taught 5 or 6 years left to teach. This year I've taught 5 or 6 years left to teach. This year I've taught 5 or 6 years left to teach. This year I've taught 5 or 6 years left to teach. This year I've taught 5 or 6 years left to teach. This year I've taught 5 or 6 years left to teach. This year I've taught 5 or 6 years left to teach. This year I've taught 5 or 6 years left to teach. This year I've taught 5 or 6 years left to teach. This year I've taught 5 or 6 years left to teach. This year I've taught 5 or 6 years left to teach. This year I've taught 5 or 6 years left to teach. This year I've taught 5 or 6 years left to teach. This year I've taught 5 or 6 years left to better than I've ever taught, using this philosophy of teaching that I'm a reading teacher first, and my content is going to be taught using my skills to teach reading and comprehension. I'm having the best teaching year, and I really feel I'm making the biggest difference I've ever made in helping kids for lifelong skills, because they're learning how to read instead of me just throwing stuff at them and then saying it's up to them. It's not, it's up to me. I'm the teacher, they're the student. It's my turn to learn and to teach them in a different way. It's my responsibility, I feel. I hope that you guys would listen to me, and maybe, I have got a long way to go. I have got a long way to go to learn to be a better teacher. And I hope that by doing this, and the more that I talk to experts in my own building, that I become a better teacher and keep using new strategies to help those kids, not only the high-level kids to get better, but my low and medium kids that really need some more guidance and direction as I teach. So, thank you very much. See ya.